5-742-8255 or visit stillwater.org.
This is Kyle Gibbs with the Stillwater Police Department. When parking in a timed parking space around Stillwater, you may notice a chalk mark on your tire. Parking enforcement uses the chalk marks to monitor vehicles. The parking
No.
I like when Joe's not here because I have more room. 6 to 7.
Good evening, and welcome to the February 1st City Council meeting. I will call this meeting to order, and I would like to introduce a special guest that we have tonight. His name is Lance Youngblood. Lance, would you come up to the podium? Lance is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So would everybody stand?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And you even knew how to adjust the microphone, didn't you? Very good. So, Lance, tell us about yourself. I would like to know what school you're from.
Westwood.
Westwood, step up a little bit closer.
Yes.
There you go. There you go. What grade are you in?
5th.
5th grade at Westwood. So that makes you how old? 15, 16?
11.
No. 10?
11.
11. Okay. And so I assume you have some teachers at school. Who's your main teacher?
Miss Whitney.
Very good. And I know you already told me, but I want you to tell everybody else. What's your favorite subject?
Basketball. Math.
Math is your favorite subject? Okay, you switched it on me. What else did you tell me was your favorite subject?
Basketball.
Basketball and recess, right? Yeah, that's what you told me. That's everybody's favorite. Yeah. What do you do after school? You play basketball? That's right. And you're on a special team here in Stillwater. What's the name of your team?
Stillwater Splash.
And how's your team doing? Do they win?
We had a tournament this weekend. We won 2.
You won 2?
2 games.
How many did you, well, we won't ask that. You won 2 games. You won 2 games. Very good. Good for you. Okay, so I'm going to come down there and we're going to take a picture. Just a minute. Counselors, does anyone else have a question for Lance?
Nope.
Nope.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is this a 6 bedroom or did we get rid of this?
Did what?
Wasn't there a 6 bedroom or something? I thought you had sent an email about public hearing for a 6 bedroom. This just said 4. Was I wrong? Let's see if I can find it.
I forgot to say thank you to his parents and his brother. I meant to have him introduce them. Thank you for bringing him tonight. No problem. And you are excused unless you want to sit for this whole thing. So, forgot to tell you that too. Okay, that moves us to the consent docket. Counselors, does anyone wish to remove an item, or is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent docket. Please vote. And the consent docket was approved with a vote of 4-0. That takes us to, we don't have any public comment. Takes us to public hearings. Item A, receive public comment regarding a request for a closing of a portion of the right-of-way of Ramsey Street adjacent to property addressed as 616 South Ramsey Street, CC-16-21. Mr. Dorman, did we have good notice on this?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. McNichol?
Aaron Baggerly will be giving that report tonight, and I'm sad to tell you this will be his last council meeting. He has received an offer that we couldn't match, and we truly are sorry to see you go. So we appreciate the work you've done for us and wish you the best in the future.
Thank you, sir. It's been a pleasure to work here with the city and work with the council. I certainly have enjoyed my time here. It was a very difficult decision to make decision to leave, but thank you. As I mentioned here, a portion of the right-of-way along Ramsey Street at the property located at 616 South Ramsey Street. Here is an aerial photo of the area. The portion of the right-of-way that is being vacated to close is this black hatched area here. 6th Avenue is to the north. This property right here is the Jimmy Egg property. And this area to the south has actually been developed since our aerial photo was taken in 2013 with some townhomes. The right-of-way to the south has been vacated in the past by the city council here, and also this right-of-way here to the north along Jimmy Egg has been vacated previously as well. This is showing a survey of the closed and vacated right-of-ways to the south and to the north of this property. And our recommendation is approval of this request. And there has been some concerns about the alley along this area, and that would be addressed along the subject property once this property is redeveloped in the future, if this property was to be redeveloped. Are there any questions of staff at this time?
Councilors? No? Okay, thank you, Mr. Bagley. At this time, I will open the public hearing, and we don't have any speakers, so I will close the public hearing. Mr. Baggerly? So you've already given us your recommendation.
Yes, staff recommends approval of this request.
Okay. Councilors, any questions for staff? One more time.
No, thanks.
Okay. Is there a motion on this recommendation?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item A, CC-16-21. Is that right? Is that right? Please vote. And that item passes with a vote of 4-0. It's approved. Item CC-16-21. That moves us to item B, receive public comment regarding a request for review and approval of a specific use permit for properties currently zoned RTM, two-family and multifamily district, and addressed as 1209 and 1213 North Ramsey Street, CC-16-22. Mr. Dorman, did we have good notice on this item?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. McNichol?
And once again, Aaron Baggerly will be presenting that report. Thank you.
Thank you. We have before us again a specific use permit for a single-family residence in a multifamily zoning district, RTM. The subject property here is outlined in purple and is along Ramsey Street. It is immediately adjacent to the Will Rogers Elementary School to the west. It's surrounded by RTM to the north and to the south. This property was rezoned back, I believe, in 2011 to RTM. And the applicant has come in to ask for single-family residential due to the nature of the lot. Duplexes would be very difficult to fit on here, and it's also in the floodplain. And to the south, we have RSS zoning, but this is really university-owned property. This is where the athletic village is proposed to go on OSU's campus. It's just a zoned RSS right now. It's currently mostly vacant, our gravel parking lot. The applicant has requested single-family home. Here is a site plan for these two lots. As you can see here, proposed building and 4 parking spaces for the 4 bedrooms that are in the home. It meets our code, and each parking space will have its own access to Ramsey Street. There will be no stacked parking on here. It's all easy access to Ramsey Street. Here is a front elevation of the home. As you can see, it's a 1-story elevation or 1-story structure. And are there any questions at this time of staff?
Councilors? No? Okay. No questions, so at this time I will open the public meeting, and I will close the public meeting, and I will ask Mr. Baggerly to come up one more time.
Planning Commission recommended approval of this 5-0 at its last Planning Commission.
Councilors, any questions at this time? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Baggerly. Is there a motion on this recommendation?
Motion to accept the Planning Commission recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the Planning Commission recommendation for CC-16-22. Please vote. And that is approved with a vote of 4-0. That takes us to general orders, Charter Review Committee presentation of first report and recommendations. Mr. McNichol, what actions do we need to take on this?
I believe Mr. Dorman has that recommendation and presentation.
You should have received in your packet the first report of the Charter Review Advisory Committee that you put together back in December. The committee has met several times during the month of December and in January, and has assembled this first report governing two items that were of interest to the council, and that being provisions in the election section of the city charter. And as I said, we've met several times these last couple of months, and the committee has produced this recommendation. I would mention, too, that several members of the committee are out here, and I would hope that you would acknowledge them. Yes. I see Denise Weaver, I see Jeremy Bale, I see Dr. Tammy Mix. I know that Kevin Clark couldn't be here tonight. He's actually in a school board meeting, and I believe Jim Beckstrom is out of town, but they've done a yeoman's job. And of course, the council, or Vice Mayor Darlington is the council liaison, and she's obviously sitting up here by you. So, but I appreciate their work.
I would also say Mr. Dorman and Melody Herndon also for the great work that you did with research and wording and everything.
Well, thank you. Basically, I'm not going to sit here and read the entire report to you because I'm sure that's not
Thank you.
Want. But there were two basic recommendations that came out of the committee. The first one dealt with the sequencing of elections. Presently, the charter requires that you call a primary election and that it is then followed by a general election. We did a survey of elections back to 2000, and we found that in 9 instances, the primary election was not, we had combined primary and general elections. And in 5 of those instances, the primary did not determine the winner, and the city was forced to basically pay for a second election when we could have simply put all of those candidates on the same ballot and save some money and save the voters an extra trip to the polls. And the other thing that we do hear a lot of complaints about is there are instances too where you go to the school board election in February, the primary election in March, the general election in April, and occasionally you'll get a special election in May. And that happened, I think, in 3 of the instances during the time period that was surveyed. So the recommendation is relatively simple, and that is to eliminate the primary election since it doesn't really seem to be doing its job, and these are not partisan positions, and go to a system where you would have one general election and then what we call an as-needed runoff election. And the runoff would only be called if no candidate garners 50% of the vote. So that's the first recommendation. The second one dealt with term limits, and the term limit one's a little tougher because the council does have, council members, as you all know, are subject to what we call a succession limit, which means you can only serve 2 3-year terms in succession, and then you have to lay out a year or an election cycle, and then you're eligible to run 2 more terms. And we looked at this in comparison to what a lot of other cities were doing. And the first thing that the committee found was that Stillwater had not only, there's only like 4 other cities that had term limits of the cities that we surveyed. And of those cities, Stillwater had the combination of the shortest terms of office and the succession limitation. So basically, you looked at 6 years, and then a counselor had to step aside. And the shortest city that we found was 8 years with a succession limitation. We found cities with 12-year limitations. We found one city that had 16 years. And we still don't quite understand how Midwest Cities works, but you can 3 years or 9 years as counselor and 9 years as mayor and any order.
That's a lot of years.
You could stay a long time there. But anyways, the committee looked at that, and they also looked at the term itself. And one of the things that you will hear a lot of your predecessors say is that it takes a while to learn this job, and once you learn it, you're basically at the end of your first term, and so you get one more term to basically come in. So to really be fully engaged, I think that most all of the former counselors would say, look at that time, look at that term issue. So the committee did, and the committee's recommendation is fairly simple. And that is they think we should ask the voters to eliminate the succession limitation in favor of a terminal 12-year limitation similar to what the state legislature has. The one that the voters chose to put in the state constitution about 20 years ago. And the way the terminal limitation works is that you get 12 years. You can serve it in any order you want, however you want, but once you've served 12 years, then you can't serve anymore. And that's what they do for the state legislature, and the committee felt that that was a very reasonable way to approach it. The other thing that the committee recommended was to extend the term of office from 3 years to 4 years to kind of help build that, to get counselors more fully engaged, and also to not have so much turnover. Because one of the things that we do is you turn over 40% of the council every year. And so you would basically be going into a cycle where you would have a counselor elected each year, except on the 4th year where you would then have 2 counselors that would serve. And the way we have it scheduled in the charter committee report is that starting in this would not start till 2017, but in 2017, seat 3 would serve a 3-year term, seat 4 would be elected to a 4-year term. Following year, 2018, the seat 5, which is the mayor's seat, would go for a 4-year term. And then the following year in 2019, the seats 1 and 2, which is the one time that you have 2 seats, would go for 4-year terms. And then by 2020, then you're now back to seat number 3, which now goes to a 4-year term. So it implements pretty easily. And all of the committee's reasons for doing this is in the report, and I encourage people to look at it. But the recommendation of the committee is to place this on the agenda, or excuse me, on the ballot for April 5th, if you so desire.
Okay, and I think another thing is sometimes we only get to serve 5 years because of how we, I know I only get to serve 5 years. My predecessor only served 5. I think that's been several mayors in a row.
And we actually, the charter committee before this one actually made an amendment to the charter because of a counselor. Martha McMillan only got to serve 4 years because she was charged for time that she served filling somebody else's term. And so that we've actually fixed that with the previous charter committee. That remains in this recommendation too. So it's yet another reason to do this. The committee, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but the committee couldn't really find any good reasons for term limits. But because the term limits were in there, the committee thought, do what the legislature does. It's in the Constitution. If it's good enough for them, why not here?
Okay, councilors, Vice Mayor, and Mr. Dorman, thank you very much, as well as all of the committee members out there. I don't see you, but I know you're out there.
You might raise your hands.
Yes, raise your hands. There they are. Okay. Thank you so much for your service. I know this was a tough task and a much-needed task, so thank you.
We are going to look at a couple more items that you had mentioned. We wanted to go ahead and get these out because of the timing for the election, but there are 2 or 3 items, and then the committee will wind up its work. So probably you will hear back from the committee sometime in March or possibly early April with a final report.
Okay. So,
I think just a clarification, I don't think that changing this, the length of the term, 4 years, and the 12-year term limit will actually change the possibility of a person being a counselor for 2 years, say, and then run for mayor, and that would limit that section to 6 years, although they can run again for another 4-year term.
exactly.
But it doesn't follow
Okay.
evenly, yeah.
Was the whole group in support of this?
Yes. Yeah, I think it was
Was unanimous?
pretty remarkable how well everybody just flowed right into it and agreed on everything.
And to just give you a flavor of how much a group effort that was involved here, the 2 resolutions that followed, the committee actually wrote the ballot titles. So we spent much of last Wednesday night.
And Mr. Beckstrom was in Colorado,
Colorado.
so we had him on speakerphone. And
Very good.
we have some very sharp eyes and good minds on this committee that picked
And we have other committees they could serve on, too.
I told them, they were having so much fun. I said, we're having so much fun. I'm just keeping you in my file.
There are no term limits for committee work. Councilor
I
Nahara?
think it's good. I mean, at the end of the day, I think whether we make the term limits 12 years or 20 years, no matter what, we can always be voted out. I mean, out of the 4 of us, one of us has beat someone that was in the seat currently, and so the city votes who they want in, and so whether we put 12 years or whatever, the person's not going to be on there as long as people are engaged and go out and vote. So no matter the term limits, I don't think it matters, and so I think it's our performance, and so I think it's good. We always talk about how it's hard to get adjusted to this position, and when we're 6 years, by year 2, we're just feeling comfortable to talk into the mic, and so it gives you a little more time to get acquainted and hopefully get some stuff done. So I think it's good.
Agreed. The final vote is the people's vote.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely. That's the best thing.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think it keeps the council consistent, too, which I think is important for people to have there's not so much change and turnover all the time that people are just getting used to one council, and then you've got to figure out the next round, so. And so year 2 is when I can actually.
Yeah, next year.
Next year.
Next year,
Got
yep.
it.
I'm just kidding.
So do we vote on this?
You could vote to accept the report.
Or do we go to resolutions? Just accept the report and then go to
You
resolution?
could do that.
Okay. So do I have a motion on the recommendation of the Charter Review Committee's recommendations?
Just
Yeah.
accept the report.
Accept the report. Do I have a motion to accept the report?
A motion to accept the report of the Charter Review Committee.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to accept the report from the Charter Review Committee. Please vote. And that was approved with a vote of 4-0. Thank you again to the committee. That takes us to resolutions. Item A, Resolution CC 2016-3, a resolution proposing amendment of Article 6, Elections, by amending Section 6.1, Section 6.3, Section 6.4, and Section 6.6 of the Stillwater City Charter, and authorizing the mayor to sign and issue an election proclamation calling for a special election in the city of Stillwater. Mr. Dorman.
The title is basically self-explanatory. This will place the item regarding sequencing of elections on the ballot for April 5th.
Do we have a motion to approve Resolution CC-2016-3?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve Resolution CC-2016-3. Please vote. And that is approved with a vote of 4-0 on Resolution CC-2016-3. That moves us to item B, Resolution CC 2016-4, a resolution proposing amendment of Article 6, Elections, by amending Section 6.1 of the Stillwater City Charter and authorizing the mayor to sign an election proclamation. Am I reading the right one?
Sign and issue.
Okay, and issue a proclamation, an election proclamation, calling for a special election in the city of Stillwater. It sounds very much like the last one. Mr. Dorman.
It's, again, the title is explanatory. This places the term limit and lengthening of council member terms item on the April 5th ballot.
Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2016-4. Please vote. And that is approved with a vote of 4-0 on CC-2016-4. That moves us to item C, Resolution CC-2016-5, a resolution establishing a bicyclist and pedestrian ad hoc citizen advisory committee, establishing membership criteria and scope of duties. Mr. Dorman.
This is the item that Councilor Darlington had mentioned at a previous meeting, and will establish an ad hoc committee to assist the transportation director with the establishment of certain items that are listed here in the resolution. The resolution basically explains the scope of what this advisory committee will do, and it also establishes kind of some criteria for membership and kind of the duties of everyone, just to establish the ground rules. We've had some issues with a couple of other ad hoc committees with some of the members understanding exactly what it is they're supposed to do, so we think that it's a good idea to put it in writing so that everyone knows going in what will happen. And so with that, I'd entertain any questions you might have.
Counselors?
I would just make a comment that this has been a really popular topic and a popular committee. Very exciting to have this be something that catches people's attention. And after we pass the resolution, at number 12 on our agenda, we will talk about the people who have been, who will be on the committee, although it's pretty open application, but we do have quite a number who have already indicated their interest and commitment.
Which we appreciate.
Absolutely.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve Resolution CC 2016-5?
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to approve CC 2016-5. Please vote. And that is approved with a vote of 4-0. That takes us to item D, our last resolution, CC-2016-6, a resolution adopting the Stillwater City Council Strategic Vision Statement. Mr. Dorman.
This is the resolution that will allow you to formally adopt the vision statement that you have been working on for several months.
Councilors, any discussion?
Comment that I've spoken to Ms. Fletcher, and she will help us organize this. So if we do approve this, it will be put up publicly so everyone can see it.
Okay, and I would like to thank Vice Mayor Darlington for leading this as well. You're busy.
Well, I'm done now.
No, you're not.
I would also like to thank
It was nice to work on that, though,
Yeah.
and to see it come together.
Yes. I also would like to thank Rebecca Eastham for helping us
Yes.
with the organization.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion to approve this resolution, CC-2016-6?
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve CC-2016-6. Please vote. And that is approved as well with a vote of 4-0. CC-2016-6 is approved. That takes us to ordinances on first reading. Mr. Dorman.
Ordinance number 3334, an ordinance proposing amendment of Article 6 of the Stillwater City Charter by amending Section 6.1, annual elections, 3-year terms, elections at large, nonpartisan elections, and providing for submission thereof to the qualified voters at the next city general election. This is just simply the ordinance that will carry into effect the term limit and length of service provisions that we've already discussed.
Okay. Counselors, any questions? Do we have a motion? Motion to
proceed
approve.
Motion to approve the second reading. Is that right? Move advance to second reading.
Second.
Sorry, that's right. Motion to advance to second reading. Ordinance number 3334. Please vote. And ordinance number 3334 will advance to second reading with a vote of 4-0. That takes us to item B, ordinance number 3335. Mr. Dorman.
An ordinance proposing amendment of Article 6 of the Stillwater City Charter by amending Section 6.1 annual elections, 3-year term, election at large, nonpartisan elections, repealing Section 6-3, primary election, time voting, who nominated or elected, etc., amending Section 6-4, general election, time voting, who elected, and Section 6-6, when primaries and general elections are not held, providing for submission thereof to the qualified voters of said city at the next general election. And this one, again, this is the one that deals with the election sequencing, and we actually have to amend several sections, because everywhere the word primary pops up, I have to go in and delete it, or we have inconsistencies within the charter, and that's not a good thing. So, but we can, with one ordinance, go through and take care of all of those problems without violating the single subject rule.
Great. Counselors, discussion, or is there a motion to approve?
Motion to advance to second reading.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to advance to second reading CC-2016, sorry. Ordinance number 3335. Please vote. And ordinance number 3335 is approved with a vote of 4-0.
Mayor?
Yes.
I would just say that we worked very hard to get language that is what very understandable for a great broad swath of the population, and so it won't sound like this when it goes public.
Good. It's a lot, yeah. That's helpful.
And we'll do some work advertising that and helping people understand.
Okay, very good. That moves us to reports. Mr. Dorman.
Nothing to report, ma'am.
Mr. McNichol.
Mayor, I have a couple items. First, I'm kind of sorry to announce, because I told some people this would be fixed quicker than this, but the skate park at Strickland Park is still closed while surface replacement takes place. And with luck and good weather, it should be open within the next couple of weeks. There's a underlying wooden composite surface that has had to be replaced. And some other good news, if preliminary budget passes in its current format, we'll be doing some significant work next year to stop the maintenance issues. And it would be all concrete. Next, I'd like everybody to put on your calendars for Monday, February 22nd, and Tuesday, February 23rd, 4 to 6 on the 22nd, 6 to 8 on the 23rd. A consultant will be in town that's working on Lot 34, the downtown project, and we hope everybody's heard about that. And the public will have two opportunities to have input into that on, again, February 22nd, Public Library, 4 to 6 p.m., Tuesday, February 23rd, 6 to 8 p.m. Thank you, Mayor.
And if you forget that date, those dates, you can look online.
It's online. It's on the web. We're trying to get that out everywhere.
Yes. Well, I would like to second that. We need we need people to give us their input. So this is another opportunity to do so. Please show up and learn about the different things that have been proposed for downtown and tell us what you think. Counselors, news.
You can go first.
Probably the next thing, very exciting thing, if you thought that the Charter Review Committee was fun, or if you're anticipating that the Bike Pedestrian Committee will be fun, this will be even more fun. The City of Stillwater Budget Fair this Thursday We couldn't do any of those other things if we didn't have a good budget. So this is really the basis for everything that we do. This Thursday, February 4th, at the Community Center at 5 o'clock? 5 to 7. 5 to 7.
We also need you to show up there. We need your input.
5:30.
Is it 5:30?
Yes.
5:30 to
5:30 to
7, yes,
Oh.
it is.
Scheduler's in the back.
And that is at the community center.
Right. Be there.
And it's come and go. You don't have to stay the whole time, but we do need to hear from you.
It's kind of like a fair, too. It's not just a sit in the audience and hear a bunch of numbers. It's walk around and talk to different people and all the different departments. All the city staff is there to answer any questions, take comments. It's really fun.
Well, it's a great way to see how the city budget's divided. I'm a visual person, and so it's nice to be able to see those different departments and the people and how it's represented and what goes where and why. That's always a big question for people, so I encourage you guys to go.
And to see all of the city employees who lead all of the different departments and to be able to ask them questions because they are much more knowledgeable than I am, at least, on their specific departments. So we hope you join us this Thursday, 5:30 to 7 at the Community Center.
And
Good
I've got
news?
something, about
Oh,
the
yes.
Stillwater Public Library. I didn't realize they had what's called Take It or Make It invention kits. These kits help teach individuals at any age about the electronic circuitry, computer programming, and more. And it's actually, the Stillwater Library is the first library in the entire state to offer these kits to residents to check out and take home. All you need is a library card. So if you're interested in learning about circuitry or computer programming or more, it's the Take It or Make It invention kits at the Stillwater Public Library. So. And then next week, starting on February 8th, for 4 nights, we are going to be having a candidate for our city manager position interviews taking place. We encourage the public to come and actually listen to each candidate. We've got 4 of them in the here at the council chambers at City Hall from 6 to 7. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week, beginning the 8th. You'll have an opportunity each evening to listen to each candidate that's coming in for the city manager position. So we encourage the public to attend. And for more information, I believe on the website they have information about each individual, their background, and that type of information. So you can look at that and then actually come in and listen and see how they are. So we encourage you guys to come.
And when you do come to each of those 4 meetings, we have light refreshments. Each time out, you will hear about a 10 to 15-minute speech from each of the candidates, and then they will mingle with everybody, so you get a chance to know the candidates. So we hope you will show up to that. So this Thursday, the next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we don't mean to impose.
No, it's if you have a really light social calendar, this could really keep you busy.
I'm excited. It's good stuff.
Yes, it is good stuff. Councilor Nahara.
Yes, this year will be the first time the city of Stillwater will observe President's Day. City Hall and most offices will be closed. For Monday, waste collection customers, trash and recycling will still be picked up as usual. Yard waste will not be collected. Is that this coming Monday or next Monday?
15th.
The 15th, 2 Mondays.
Oh, I gotta work that day, so, okay. 15th. Good job.
Okay, anything else? All good news.
Yeah.
We're busy, and
You're
that's
gonna
a
get your
good
money's
thing.
worth out of city council for
Yes.
the next 2 weeks. We have
Yes.
7 meetings, so
Is that all?
that's all.
Okay, that moves us to appointments. And the first appointment is for the Audit Committee. Just a minute, I've got it somewhere.
You want it? It's right here.
Thank you. Okay, for the Audit Committee appointment, Angela Spencer submitted an application for the Library Trust Board and has graciously agreed to serve on the Audit Committee instead. We thank her for this. And the appointment is for a 3-year term, which will expire in January of 2019. Angela, are you here tonight? Okay. We would still like to say thank you to her and to her service. And that we have another one. It's the Board of Adjustment. Terry Ventris, term expires this month.
Are we going to take action on?
Oh, okay, sorry. Do we have a motion to approve Ms. Spencer? Is that how we?
You usually make,
Actually, you
make the
nominated.
nomination.
Okay, I'm going to make the nomination for Angela Spencer to become appointed to the Audit Committee.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for Angela Spencer. Please vote. And Angela Spencer is approved with a vote of 4-0. Welcome to the Audit Committee, Ms. Spencer. That takes us to the Board of Adjustment. Terry Ventress, his term expires this month, and he would like to serve another term. And Robert Williams' term expires this month, and he can no longer serve because he doesn't live in the city limits. And we have one application. Angela Bale has submitted an application for this seat on the Board of Adjustment. So I would like to nominate Angela Bale to the Board of Adjustment, and I would like to nominate to reappoint Terry Ventress.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And they are both approved with a vote of 4-0. Vice Mayor Darlington, you had the ad hoc committee
Right.
names.
I do, thank you. Kevin Mussett, and I think some of these people are here. You want to just stand up? Kevin Mussett, Liz Armstrong. I just wanted to put faces with people, too. Julie Kelly is in Guatemala. Sean Gibson. Eric London. Tim McHugh. Cynthia Gerda. Becky Taylor and PJ Brunn. PJ. And Jack, you were in the original group. Do you want to be on the committee? Jack Moore. Jack Moore, not to put you on the spot. Charla Lovern is the staff liaison, and if anyone is interested in being on the committee whose name I did not call, please contact Charla. And her email is slovern, Lovern, @stillwater.org, or call me or email me. Thank you very much. This is going to be a great committee.
Absolutely.
Do you need
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for everything
Long
she
motion.
said, for every person that Vice Mayor announced. Please vote. And with a vote of 4-0, everybody is appointed to that committee whose names were read, and you can still apply if you're interested in being on that committee.
I think we should note, too, that the auditorium is very full. We normally don't get
Yes.
this unless everyone's mad at us, so.
That's right.
Thank you guys so much for being here. I don't think we have a camera that can go that way, but if you're watching or anything, there's a lot of people here in support of this.
Absolutely.
So I think it's really good that you decided to move this along, and it's exciting. So thank you all for being here, and hopefully we'll get some good things from it.
I would like to just say for the audience, this is a bicycle pedestrian committee, and our emphasis is on transporting non-motorized ways, so people of all abilities, and walking, biking, running, a widespread look at how we transport ourselves around the city safely and healthily.
It's a great thing. Thank you. Okay, do I hear a motion to adjourn City Council?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn City Council. Please vote. And we are adjourned with a vote of 4-0. We are going to go into the Stillwater Utility Authority meeting, but if you would like to get up and exit, you may. Watch this.
I was going to say, yeah, there you go.
You're going to miss out on Water 2040.
All the fun stuff comes now.
The water's about to get talked about, people. All right. Don't call us when you don't have water.
That'd be even better if it was sewer.
Dan, are you presenting this? Okay, I didn't know if they thought you were presenting. Dan's not presenting.
Bill Millis.
Tim is giving up. Has done it.
With all that said, I will go ahead and I will call the Stillwater Utility Authority meeting to order for February 1st. Trustees, consent docket. Does anyone wish to remove an item, or is there a motion to approve the consent docket?
Motion to approve the consent docket as it is.
We have a motion.
Second.
And a second to approve the Stillwater Utility Authority consent docket. Please vote. And the consent docket was approved with a vote of 4-0. That takes us to general orders. Mr. McNichol, Water 2040.
Bill Millis will be presenting the Water 2040 Implementation Plan 3.
Good evening, trustees. I'm Bill Millis, Water Utilities Director. Here tonight to discuss the Water 2040 program and to ask you to modify the implementation plan. Before I start, I do want to introduce a few people for a couple of reasons. One, so you can know who's doing a lot of the hard work behind this program. But also, if you stump me later with questions, I'll be turning to them for help. That's what they are. From my staff, in the back, Candy Starring, Capital Programs Manager over all our capital programs. Eric Flady, right here, is the Water 2040 Program Manager. And from our consultant, CH2M Hill, Lars Ostervold is their Program Manager. As we go through this, I know that some of you have not been here through since the beginning of this program, so feel free to answer questions anytime, and we can go into as much more detail as you'd like. As a background, I've got up on the screen, and you also have all the exhibits or slides that I'll show. You've got handouts of them too, so you can follow along easier. The Water 2040 program is a significant investment in our water infrastructure, consisting of three new pump stations, 2 water storage towers, and 20-plus miles of transmission line. It addresses some current deficiencies in our water distribution system and also allows for growth in the southwest part of Stillwater, both the what we call the southwest pressure zone, as well as other areas in the southwest part of town. It also provides some peripheral benefits to other parts of the city's distribution system, but focuses on the southwest. The kind of the seed of the implementation plan we're talking about tonight was planted in the summer of 2015 during discussions on the cost of service study. One thing that came up during those meetings was the possibility of postponing some of the Water 2040 projects that were not immediately needed, but postponing them until basically right before they are needed as a way to minimize the burden on today's ratepayers. So at that time, staff did a quick evaluation of the projects and whether some could be deferred, found that they could, and that deferral allowed the trustees to approve the smallest possible increase to the water rates. So go the next slide to the plan, which on the screen is pretty hard to read, so that's why you've got it in front of you. But we'll focus on more on the big picture there. I'll talk about the scope. The overall scope of Water 2040 has not changed, just how we're implementing it. So I'll explain the approach of the proposed plan and note the differences from the current plan, and then discuss also scheduling costs. After, at the end of the cost of service study, CH2M Hill performed hydraulic modeling and analysis of all the projects to ascertain which ones might be able to be deferred and how long they could be deferred. Through that exercise, we separated the program into 16 projects in order of priority. And so the 1 through 16 you see on your handout is the priority order of those projects. And then we divided them into 3 financing packages, just like the previous implementation plan. Package A, or the real benefit of all the numbers in the chart is the color coding. Package A is green, and that includes overall project management, program management, the design and land acquisition for projects 1 through 13, construction of the first 6 projects, which, by the way, are currently underway, design and land acquisition. Package B is the gold-colored squares, and that is construction of projects 7 through 13. And then Package C are the blue and purple squares, which is projects 14 through 16, and that covers design, property acquisition, and construction. The differences from the current implementation plan to the one proposed this evening is that the new plan is broken down into 16 projects rather than 14. And that's just a function of how we were evaluating the whole program to see what could be deferred, what had to be built together, et cetera. It does contain minor changes in the priority order, and it defers all of Package C, which you can see in the blue and the purple cells off to the right, and it defers part of Package B. Actually, of the Package C there, the bottom one is a parallel 36-inch water line. That was Package C previously, and the 2 above it, 14 and 15, were part of Package B, and those are being deferred. And I'll get into a little more details a little bit later about the deferral. And I will move on from, or if you have questions here, I'll be glad to try to address them. Otherwise, I'll move on to the schedule.
I just want to say thank you. I'm a visual person, and it was nice to be able to read in priority what these top 16 projects were, and then the color code, and being able to kind of figure that out. So thank you for doing this in a way that is
well, we
easy for the
realized
first
that
time.
that's a whole lot of information. We're trying to simplify it as much as we could. This is the Water 2040 schedule. So this proposed implementation schedule, we are, the key things on this schedule, the red bars are the construction periods. Now, that's not one project. In each that's a package. So the top red bar is Package A, which is 6 projects, kind of stair-step throughout that period. And then the lower red bar is Package B. Again, 7 different projects, some combined, some not, but staggered throughout that period. The blue bars are the actual loan application and approval process. Right now, we're in the period of the top blue bar, and that's the Package A loan application and approval. Also, as I said earlier, finalizing design plans for Package A. With the first 2 projects will be bid together, and that should be advertised for bid this coming April. You can see there on the very bottom line, Package C is addressed on this slide as just as 1 bar, and it starts in 2020 and goes out indefinitely. As what we plan to do there really is reevaluate Package C. We know that each of those projects can be deferred at least to 2020. So in 2020, we'll reevaluate them all and decide, do some of them need to start right now? Can they all be deferred another 5 years? I have a pretty good feel that the parallel water line will definitely be, not definitely, but most likely be deferred for probably another 5 years. We just don't think that we'll need it that soon. So that's why C is kind of represented up there as an indefinite timeline. And you see the note on the bottom. This schedule is subject to successful acquisition of easements and real estate. That's kind of often the most challenging thing and kind of the wild card with as far as planning a schedule. And I'm going to move on from this slide to kind of we put this together as a kind of an in a nutshell type of summary. It's got Package A, B, and C, It's got the projects that comprise each package, and it's got the simplified by just putting the construction timeline so you can see when each set of projects will be under construction. And it's also got the cost there in the middle column for each package. So that's kind of a segue into the budget impact. Overall, you can see the total there, $93 million. That's $15 million higher than the current implementation plan. But the bulk of that, or what makes up that $15 million increase, is mostly inflation. Because if we're going to build these projects, 5 to, well, up to 18, 19 years into the future, just the inflation over time is going to make those projects cost more. So that's where most of that increase comes from. We also refined the construction cost estimates. The inflation I mentioned is, we kind of picked the middle. See, the Package C projects, they're deferred from somewhere between 2021 and 2035. So we picked the middle of each range for inflation. So we didn't run inflation out till 2035, just till the most likely target of when we would construct the project. So you can see about $28 million in Package A. And you'll recall in January, the trustees approved submission of a loan package for approximately $30 million, which is Package A. So that's in the works. That'll be submitted to the Oklahoma Water Resources Board, who administers the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund loan, which is where we'll get the money from. The Package B, approximately $14 million, and under this implementation plan, we'd bring that back to the trustees to approve a loan package submittal in FY 2017. And lastly, Package C is $51 million. And the reason that's so much bigger is that parallel line, it's 7 miles of 36-inch water line. So that's the bulk of that cost. But that'll be determined when we reevaluate in 2020 and decide how to proceed with the rest of Package C. As well, these are the overall costs. The program management fees also will increase. That's our cost to CHM Hill, because they're handling design, property acquisition, environmental review, things like that. And that fee, is increasing by $3.4 million to approximately 11.5. And it's the same kind of 11.5 million. And it's the same kind of reasons. Inflation, because some of this is being done later. The schedule is lengthier, and they're not doing as many things. Anytime you stretch things out, it's going to cost more to perform the work. The 2 additional projects, so that means 2 more bid packages to prepare potentially. And also some scope changes in what we're having CH2M Hill do as part of the program management. So the $11.5 million I mentioned is the cost to do the whole program, because we want to be able to compare, the cost of implementation plan 2 to 3. What we'll actually be asking for here in just a couple of minutes is an authorization of $8.1 million for program management, because we don't need to do Package C right now, so we don't want to put that on contract. And $8.1 million will cover the program management fees for Package A and Package B.
Okay, hold on one second. I'm sorry. You had me all the way until whatever you just started talking about. And I don't know if you can answer
3
this.
times the...
So what's this $14 million for that we have budgeted? Is that not for this?
No, that would be for annual water projects.
Okay, so that's not even on this. Wow.
No.
Keep going. Sorry. I was confused.
Okay, so try to sum it up. The complete program will cost more in the long run, but it'll cost less now, because we're not going to build the infrastructure until we need it. And the ratepayers who use the infrastructure will pay for it, rather than the current ratepayers paying for a future need. The The Package C infrastructure will be based on better projections because we'll be making those projections closer to the time when it's actually needed. And this implementation plan is consistent with the adopted rate structure. So I would be glad to answer any questions before I go into the staff recommendation.
Was it fairly easy to prioritize and figure out what needed to come first, or did you guys have a lot of discussion on trying to figure out what it is you needed to put first in package A, package, I mean?
Well, it kind of, it sorts itself out, but it took a lot of work into building a hydraulic model, estimating population, seeing where the needs are, and how to meet those needs as far as distributing water throughout the system. So that part was pretty labor intensive and took a lot of effort. But then some of the projects naturally need to go together. We've got a pump station and a pipeline and then a water tower. So, those would need to go one after the other. And some of the prioritization is based on the condition of the existing infrastructure. The number one project up there is the 6th and Country Club pump station, which is due for replacement. And we'd be, even if Water 2040 wasn't here, we'd be replacing that. So that was pretty easy to make that the number one priority.
Some of the prioritization is linked to being in compliance and potential problems that we would have with
the consent order?
No, with is it in the report DEQ or whoever?
Yes. The Oklahoma Department of Environmental Quality issued a consent order, which means the issues with pressure at high elevation in certain neighborhoods that we identified back in 2010, developed a plan in 2012. In 2014, the state issued a consent order based on those issues. But that consent order, tracks right with our schedule and all of Package A. So in a sense, yes, because we couldn't move something out of Package A into B because then it might not meet the consent order schedule. But that was a schedule that we had set already internally anyway to get the needs addressed. So the implementation plan does comply with the consent order.
So the program management, you said that went up from 3 point something to 11?
No, the delta was 3.4. So it was about 8.1, and now it's 11.5.
Say that again, please.
Yeah.
Under implementation plan 2 was 8.1 million with program management, and under plan 3 it's 11.5.
Okay.
So it's difference of 3.
Well, what's the
In the program, explain the program management, if you would, Emanuel. That's
Okay, sure. That's what we've hired CH2M Hill to provide program management, which includes the design of all the projects, but also, putting the program together, building the extensive hydraulic model so that we could identify the projects. There were, I don't remember how many, but dozens of potential projects that could have gone into this. And so selecting the right projects to meet the needs and then prioritizing them, that kind of effort that they've done already for the whole program. You've seen there on the implementation plan, even though Package C is out 2020 and beyond, part of Package C has already been done because they had to do that work to develop the overall program. But that also includes real estate acquisition, meeting with property owners, writing legal descriptions, getting appraisals done, writing offers to purchase the easements and the real estate, doing the environmental reviews, and making putting together all the documentation that the state needs to approve the application.
Inspection services.
Yeah, inspection services are included in there.
Programming of the computer system.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, integration of the basically the SCADA systems that allow the different facilities to communicate with each other and communicate back to the water plant, so that we know what each facility is doing, and that's all part of the computerized monitoring and and running of pump stations and water towers. A lot of things that go into this.
Okay, so just tell me one more time, why did it go up from 3 point something to?
No.
No?
The 8 to 11.
8 to 11.
But
8
still
to
$3 million.
11.
Yeah.
It's a $3 million increase because there's more years added to it?
Correct. A lot of the same reasons that the entire cost has gone up. The CHM Hill will be providing services over more years. You know, we're not going to do design and construction management on the Package C projects till at least 5 years out. So their cost to do that, instead of doing it in 2017 and 2018, they're going to be doing it according to the implementation plan, in 2021. So all those costs are inflated. There will be a couple of extra bid packages because we have 16 projects now instead of 14. So that's more effort for CH2M Hill to prepare those and advertise them and inspect them. There were some scope changes. We added in something that they didn't normally do is preliminary subsurface investigation through hydro excavation. That's something, basically it means a water jet in a vacuum. You can expose an existing utility before you dig it up to find out where it is so that your design can be more informed. And you don't wait till your contractor's out there digging and then they find a conflict. You can find it early on, and that's something that practice that we've established over the last couple of years, and that's something we ask them to add to their scope. So some relatively small things like that we've added to the scope.
So could we, I think we might need, I need a little more explanation because I'm just having a hard time wrapping my mind around $3 million for something that we may not do till 2021.
Okay.
Well,
Correct.
yeah, I explained that earlier, and we'll do it again as we go to the recommendations. What we tried to give you was the 11.5 million is the implementation plan. What we don't want to we don't implement Package C today. So what we want to implement is just Package A and B, and that was a total of authorized, $9.1 million for total program management services, including 12% contingency. So it's not the 11.5 it was just so you could compare to implementation plan 2. But that's not going to be done right now. What we want right now is
The 9,072,000.
yes, 8.1 executed on an amended contract with CH2M Hill, 9.1 total authorized to include CH2M Hill's contract and contingency.
So are you, I guess, can we move down to these recommendations and we can talk about this a little more so you can explain to us what you're going to recommend if you're done, and that way we can, because I want to make sure I understand you correct on this.
Sure. What staff recommends is approval of the proposed implementation plan 3, and staff to proceed with that, authorizing $8.1 million for a total amended contract with CH2M Hill for packages A and B only for program management services, and authorizing $9,072,000 in total program management costs, again for packages A and B only, which includes a 12% contingency. And I'd be glad to circle back. I just thought that might help clarify things.
So we're talking 17 million for the implementation and for the
No, sir.
program level.
No, sir. Not additive, total.
Total.
Total 9 million.
Okay,
9.1.
that's where okay, sorry.
Yeah, the 8.1 million is a
I
contract.
promise I have a college degree. Everyone's out there's questioning it, but I promise. Okay, I get it now. That's what's throwing me off. Okay. I think I understand. Do you?
Yes. Anything else, counselors?
No. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What do we do from here? Do we vote on recommendations tonight?
I
Yes?
choose to do so, yes.
I think that's what staff is requesting. If you would like more information or in a different format, we can certainly do that. It's entirely up to council.
So do you have different recommendations, or is there just one recommendation?
There,
Sure. The alternatives in the report included continuing with Implementation Plan 2, providing additional guidance on this implementation plan, making changes at your recommendation, or authorizing this plan. And obviously, we recommend authorizing this plan just because it complies with the rate study and it continues the...
Authorized plan number 3.
Yes, ma'am.
Trustees, discussion? Request? Questions?
Well, it's been in the works for a long time. A lot of eyes have looked at it. And I think we are committed to doing it as a city.
And I appreciate the step back that we took some months ago to relook at this and come up with the best plan for our ratepayers.
well, and I think, Mayor, the projects we were under consent order certainly are important to get off the ground and get moving, so.
I was going to say, I think probably the timing of it is, based on the priority and all that, we need to move forward, and
Right.
so approving packages A and B would make the most sense.
I think it only is clear that the longer you wait, the more expensive it
That's
gets.
right, exactly.
Well, and I will mention that while we did take a step back and look at the implementation plan, progress was proceeding, so it wasn't on hold waiting for
Sure.
this to happen.
Right,
Sure.
right.
That's continued.
I got a motion to approve staff recommendations.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve staff recommendations to authorize Plan 3. Trustees, please vote. The authorization of Plan Number 3 has been approved with a vote of 4-0. Thank you for everybody's work on this. I know it's
Thank you.
for helping us to understand. Reports, Mr. Dorman.
Nothing to report, ma'am.
Mr. McNichol.
No items, Mayor.
Council, trustees.
I would like to, can you tell the schedule for the train stuff?
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought that was interesting.
I did too.
So that way if people see something going on, they're
Yes,
not
they'll-
shocked by it.
Our generation transmission manager and project manager, Lauren Smith, is also in the audience, but he has informed me well. We are in the process of taking delivery of the generation units and engines for our new Stillwater Energy Center. They are started today with the generators. The generators are actually the smaller of the two pieces. They I think weigh about, how much? They're 70 tons. They're about 70 tons each. And there's 3 of those, and then there's 3 engines that are about 210 tons apiece. Between now and the end of the week, they will be moving those from the railroad tracks where they cross Jardeau, about a quarter-mile north of the intersection of Airport and Jardeau, moving them onto the site. If you go out there just about any time during the morning, you'll be able to witness a pretty remarkable thing of moving these very large components onto the site. And then you'll see a big, what looks like a large white kind of tent building, and that's where they're going to reassemble these engines. They were complete in the factory, and they were complete and tested. And then in order to get them into the central part of the United States, they had to break them down into 2 major pieces and several other pieces. And so in that big white tent-looking building, they're going to reassemble them and then crane them into the engine hall. And so we'll have 3 complete units when they're done doing that over the next couple months. But they are moving them from the railroad to the site over the next 2 to 3 days. Wednesday, I think, is when they're actually going to start moving the big ones, the engines, 210 tons. That's a lot of weight, but it's a pretty neat thing to take a look at, and we certainly, if someone would like to come out and take a look, we welcome you to do so.
So do they come down to put them back together?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's all part of the...
You guys don't have
no,
to do
Lauren
that.
and I are out there with our rigs. Would you like to join us? We could use some help.
No, I'm just, they got to put them together, they take them apart, and they put them back. Wow.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's when you've got something that big, in order to transport it, I guess you can put it on those big ocean-going ships. They fit fine there.
Oh, wow.
Once you get it to port, Wardzilla has a number of these units in place, but they've all been relatively close to the coast, so it's fairly easy to get it off the boat and get it to the site. But we're pretty much in smack dab in the middle of the United States, and so this is the first time that they've actually had to bring one of these units this far inland.
We're making them work for their money.
Yeah.
So if you're driving down airport in the mornings, you won't be able to get through, I'm guessing.
Well, it's Jardeau.
Jardeau.
It's
Sorry.
Jardeau, and when they are moving actually moving the units, it takes a little bit
You
of
just
time.
showed me a picture of the.
I think probably about an hour or so to get from the railroad to the site. So there's a part of time that is the roadway is pretty much closed. Yeah.
I'm
For
picturing
those-
one of the
yeah.
Dodge truck commercials trying to pull it.
Yeah, interestingly enough, when I went out there and I saw the hauling device, first thing I asked is, well, where's the truck that pulls this thing? Well, there isn't one. It's self-propelled, and I guess it's actually, there's not an operator who sits on the piece of equipment that moves them. He actually controls it from a remote and walks alongside, and that's how it works. So it's quite a sight to see.
That's great.
I hope we can see some pictures maybe on the website, on the city
Absolutely.
website. That would
Are you
be,
taking a video?
We have, yes,
Time
Laura's
lapse,
saying yes,
yeah.
Sherry's saying yes. I'm personally not taking a video, but I'm sure that I know I saw Megan out there when I was there earlier today, and so I'm sure we're doing a lot of documentation that will be made available to the public. You bet.
okay.
Yeah, thank you
Good
for
stuff.
asking.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, Lauren.
Yeah, thank you.
I know
very much.
this makes your department very happy for this progress to go on.
Oh,
so
this is, yeah.
Congratulations.
It's a phenomenal project for the community, and we're just thrilled to death to be able to, to be able to do this type of project for our customers and for our communities. Yeah, thank you very much.
Very good project. Thank you, everyone who's worked on this. Trustees, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. Please vote.